Hey everyone, guess who's back? It's Kamish back here with another draft preview in tier two. And guess what? We got Robert and Scottish Highlanders. And this is a team that I think has, or an owner, I guess I could say as well, that has a ton of potential. Notice that in tier three. Just notice that you do have some general good football knowledge of the players involved in Dynasty. And I have high hopes, and I have high hopes for you this year, and I hope you have the same high hopes for yourself. But time will tell. Obviously, you feel good enough about your team that you put the contribution in this year, shows a lot of commitment. And I just want to say I really appreciate having you as an owner. And you came from a great group and a great referral source. And I'm really excited to see if there is a bit of a rivalry in that American Division too. And I'm sure hopefully you guys are going back and forth somewhat and talking about that rivalry and the division. And it would be even better if everyone contributes from the division and really goes all in this year for tier two. And lots of changes obviously coming next year with mandatory contributions. But let's just get right into your preview. So current keepers, and this is where I say you have a lot of options, right? So you went with the running back, four wide receiver option. So Chase Brown, I do like a lot in Cincinnati. I do think he's a bit of an under the radar kind of guy, but let's face it, I think he's a great option in terms of the fact that he's not always going to be facing eight men in the box kind of situations, right? Everyone's going to be expecting Joe to throw the ball, which hopefully means that Chase Brown's going to get some yardage. You also had Zach Charbonnet as a potential option there as a keeper at running back. I know he's always been considered a bit of a threat against Kenneth Walker's workload. But I guess we'll just leave it at one running back for now. You're deciding to go with the four wide receivers. And the wide receivers you picked, well, Scary Terry, he is in a bit of a contract issue right now with Washington, but I think that's obviously going to get all sorted out. There's no way they're going to let Scary Terry walk or trade him, but you never know, right? Nobody can predict the future. Jackson Smith and Jibba, let's face it, he's got a path to a lot of targets now in Seattle, working with Sam Darnold. Smith and Jibba, this was a highly touted draft pick when he was drafted by Seattle and was projected to be the best wide receiver in that class. Haven't seen it quite yet, but he is going to be working with Cooper Kupp, maybe learn from the master as well. And who knows what that Seattle offense is going to look like this year? Nobody really truly knows. Josh Downs, I think, is the wide receiver you want in Indianapolis this year. I think he will take over as the one in Indianapolis. I just have a feeling that this guy's set to break out. And Michael Pittman has always been that guy that, we've been waiting for the breakout kind of thing, right? It just hasn't happened. So maybe this is the year for Josh Downs. This is where I think things are a bit interesting. You decided to go Jalen McMillan. And after the draft, of course, Igbuga was drafted there. And you have to wonder if, okay, he's going to eat into some targets. And it makes you wonder, like, well, would you rather keep somebody like maybe a Jalen Waddle, right? Like the veteran. The other thing I see happening with Jalen Waddle this year is the simple fact that Tyreek, let's face it, I think he has like what, 15 kids. He's got a lot of child support to pay. Guy always seems to be getting in trouble. He's more worried about setting up a 100-meter race with Noah Lyles than his football. And I think, I see problems developing for Tyreek, aka almost AB style. And Jalen Waddle, all of a sudden, it gets the path to all the targets in Miami. So if it's my team, I'm either going with Waddle or I'm going with one of my young quarterbacks that you had on the roster, Jordan Love or Drake May. Lots of fantasy seasons get lost by poor quarterback play. I just think McMillan was a decent keeper before the draft. Now, after the draft, I'm sure McMillan hasn't lost his status or anything. I just think that it could be a short leash, right? So, and then you decided to go Rose Boom off the Carolina Panthers at linebacker. I'm curious to see if this is going to be the main guy. I know they have young Trevin Wallace there too, but they got to figure it out at linebacker. There's a big hole there. Roseboom, I don't, he was mediocre with the Rams. I just don't see it translating. Well, could. I mean, Carolina, that defense could be on the field a lot if Bryce regresses again, or, if he continues the end of last year, might be different, right? But we'll see what Roseboom can do. I just think there's probably better people out there that you could either acquire for dirt cheap, I would think, at this stage, and get a better keeper. But yeah, looking at the keepers that you had, there's not much to choose from. So that's for sure. Picks. So you're in a bit of a better situation here than Super Cam in your division, and Bishop Sycamore, just because you have the extra sixth. Not that much of an advantage, but the extra sixth could be, a double up strategy of some sort. Whether you're rounding out the rest of your offense, maybe moving into defense at that stage. You also have fourth overall, right? So consolation playoffs isn't always a detriment. I mean, you're fighting for your life, don't get me wrong, but you're also fighting for the first overall pick. You seem to have fallen on fourth overall. So yeah, I think it's going to set up the table for you to have a decent draft. And I've seen you draft before. Again, I think you have decent player knowledge, and I do feel that this is a year potentially where, you might want to think about going all in. Likely first pick, well, around that range is Tet McMillan. Orion just posted that he's keeping Daniels, so you could take Jaden Daniels off. Caleb Williams is there. Travion Henderson would also be there, I feel, for. I personally think your first pick is going to be a running back. There's a bunch of other rookie running backs that you could be looking at that stage in the draft. Or you go with a guy like Tet McMillan. I think you're a Carolina fan. So I wouldn't. But it's your team. We'll see what happens. I think it's wide open for you. And then the storylines, I think you're a good enough owner to be at least division champ. And if you're division champ, possibly going far in the playoffs, maybe even tier one. If things go bad, I see a miss in the playoffs. That's it. I don't think you're dropping at all to tier three. Same commentary for American Division Two owners that have been given, and for all you other people that are watching these previews as well, valuable advice. I've been reiterating this message. Don't be afraid to go all in. The rule is trade. You could trade 5 of your first 10 rounds. Yeah, it could mean trouble the next year if you don't go all the way, but you have to trust yourself that you're good enough to survive. But if you have a team that's good enough, or great, but just needs a few extra good players, go all in. Trade those first 5 and 10 rounds to get the extra players needed to move to tier one, because that's the whole goal here in these lower tiers is to get your ass up to tier one. And I do feel that you have the abilities to do so, Robert. So I am appreciative of your ownership in this league and the commitment. And I hope you are finding the tiered format to be a fun one. And of course, if you can make it to tier one, it's a whole different ball game because a lot of trading activity. And then not only that, you're fighting for survival because you don't want to drop to the lower tiers ever again after you make it to tier one. Anyways, pleasure having you in the league, and I just want to say good luck this year.